Throughout human history, humans have created amazing inventions and advances in medicine. What is less talked about are the failures of some of these cures and experiments that went horribly wrong, costing and forever damaging the lives of millions of people, let alone the environment. Here are some of the cases of science gone wrong you probably never heard of. The Aral Sea disaster. This event is a classic case of environmental engineering on a massive scale gone wrong, leading to a long-term humanitarian and ecological crisis. Beginning in the 1960s, the Soviet Union diverted two rivers that fed the Aral Sea, the Amu Darya and the Sir Darya, for vast irrigation projects to grow cotton in the desert regions of present-day Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. The project was considered a great scientific and engineering achievement at the time. However, the plan had a devastating and largely unconsidered side effect. The Aral Sea began to shrink dramatically. The death toll was incalculable. While not a single immediate event expressed a high death toll, the disaster led to a long-term humanitarian crisis. The shrinking sea caused a toxic dust bowl as pesticides and fertilizers from the agricultural runoff were left exposed on the dried up seabed. This led to widespread health problems, including high rates of respiratory illness, birth rates in the surrounding population, and the collapse of the local fishing industry also led to economic hardship and displacement. So why is this science gone wrong? Well, this serves as a cautionary tale about large-scale technological inventions in nature without a complete understanding of the long-term ecological consequences. It shows how a project intended to create a bountiful agricultural region could, through a lack of foresight, result in the irreversible environmental catastrophe with severe human consequences. The Aral Sea Crisis does not have a single definitive death toll like a sudden catastrophic event such as a dam collapse or an earthquake. Instead, it is an ongoing slow-motion disaster that has caused a long-term public health crisis. The deaths are a result of a complex web of environmental and social factors, making it impossible to produce a precise number. Let's try to break down the human cost. So there are long-term health consequences, such as the shrinking of the sea exposed a massive dry seabed. This area, now called the Aralkum Desert, is laden with salt, pesticides, and other toxic chemicals from decades of agricultural runoff. There are also toxic dust storms, where winds pick up millions of tons of this toxic dust and carry it across the region. As a result, the local population suffers from extremely high rates of diseases, including anemia, cancers, kidney and liver diseases, respiratory illnesses, and birth defects and developmental problems in children. Also, infant mortality is one of the most telling indicators of the crisis's impact. In the Aral Sea region, it has been among the highest in the world, with some reports from the 1990s showing rates as high as 70 to 100 per thousand live births in some areas, compared to much lower rates in other parts of the world. Then there is the contaminated water. With the loss of the sea and the contamination of local water sources, access to safe drinking water has become a major challenge, leading to high rates of waterborne diseases like typhoid and hepatitis A. These deaths are not tied to a specific singular event, but are the cumulative result of a sustained environmental and health crisis over decades. There is no official or widely accepted death toll. Researchers and humanitarian organizations point to the dramatic increase in morbidity and mortality rates, particularly for infants and children, as the tragic human legacy of the disaster. The Aral Sea Crisis is an example of an environmental catastrophe that is measured not in a single number of dead, but in the enduring suffering and reduced life expectancy of millions of people. The Aral Sea disaster isn't limited to just humans. For example, because of the salinity increase and the drying of the lake led to the local extinction of the Aral trout, a small fish named roof, the Turkestan barbel, and all sturgeon species. Dams now block their return and migration routes. The Aral trout and the Sirdara sturgeon may be extinct due to their restricted range. All other native fish, barring the stickleback, which persisted during the lake's shrinkage and salinity increase, were also extirpated, which is a harsher word for describing extermination. But many have returned to the North Aral Sea following its recovery from the 1990s onwards.